Okay, it says we're live now.
Okay. Thank you everyone for joining us. Sorry about the change to virtual so quickly, but we wanted to keep everyone safe. So I'd like to call the February 17th, 2022 regular board meeting to order. Can I get a pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Do we have anyone for public forum?
We do not.
Okay. Can I get an approval of the consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Okay, study items, summer school proposal. Dr. Maxwell.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board. Thank you for letting me come speak to you tonight about our summer school. I know nothing gets us thinking more about summer than a little ice and snow outside. So appreciate the opportunity to present to you just our plans for summer school, to get some feedback from you so we can continue our planning and moving forward with what we would like to have as an excellent summer program for us. Let me go ahead and share my screen and then you can follow along with me. As we've done in the past, we really want to have, again, a nice, robust summer school program. And so we are looking at really trying to engage, enrich, and explore with our students over the summer. I wanted to just let you know before I move forward that, although I am presenting this information, this is really the work of a lot of different people to collaborate together on this. I know at the September board meeting, it was mentioned to have a suggestion to survey both the students and families along with our staff. And so we went ahead and did that and really enjoyed just the opportunity to hear from our families and our students, along with working with other people in the district, as well as other summer school program coordinators throughout the region. While combining that with some of the best practices, we really got a lot of information to help us move forward with a lot of our planning. Our priorities continue to be the same, making sure that we are meeting the needs of our students, really trying to work with the continuity of our MRH staff. We really make sure that we have data-driven programs and instruction, and making sure this is an extension of the learning that happens throughout the school year. We also want to make sure that we do work to provide some programs that will engage our students. And so we want to try to continue to increase student attendance at our summer school programs. We hope to do this through a variety of enrichment experiences while also being fiscally responsible and flexible to the needs of our students. So this brings us to the basics of our summer school. We will again have a 3-week program. It will run from June 13th through July 1st. We look to have an AM session from 7:45 to noon and a PM session from 12:30 to 3:30, while providing lunchtime in the middle from 12 to 12:30. This year, we are going to combine some programs, just kind of being aware of some of the construction that's happening at the high school, knowing that there will be quite a bit of kind of disruption there. We are going to be having our ECC elementary and middle school students at the elementary school this year, while having our high school program at the middle school and high school. Then obviously we'll be providing some planning time and preparation for our teachers prior to the start of summer school. One of the things you will notice as we go through our presentation is that there's going to be some slight shift to what we have done in the past. And some really reasons for this is really keeping an eye on equity that we know the district values so much. We want to work to remove some of the barriers that maybe students and families might have, and also provide access to all programs for all students. We also know just the impact of the pandemic on learning and learning lost time. And so we really do want our programs to be an extension of the learning opportunities from the regular school year into the summer. And then there have been some recent changes in state policy that gives us a little bit more flexibility with what we can do during our summer programming. And as I mentioned, the impact of just the construction at the middle school and high school also impacts some of what we plan to do with our program this summer. So as I mentioned, the focus on equity, this is where you're going to see some of the shifts in our programming. The first main one is that we are going to we do plan to provide free programs for all students. So that includes our enrichment programs will not cost anything for our families. We also want to provide breakfast and lunch opportunities for our students. So we're continuing just what we have during the school year into the summer so that students can have that free breakfast program during our summer school sessions. We also are going to have differentiated programs for students at different levels and with different needs, while continuing to offer our extended school year program through SSD. So that brings us to the two main programs that we offer during the summer. We have our Summer Academy and our Summer Enrichment Program. We'll begin with our Summer Academy. As I said, the Summer Academy is going to have three of our schools at the elementary school. So our ECC elementary and middle school students will be at our elementary school for that AM session from 7:45 to 12 o'clock for those 3 weeks. These will be focused on students where we can work to accelerate the skills in both literacy and math. So students will have direct instruction in both of those content areas for at least 2 hours each day. We'll be working with small groups of students, trying to keep those groups around 10 and often keeping them with the same teacher for that time period. We'll be using our Summer Success as the curriculum platform. And working along with Ben Gleason, we're really going to try and continue to kind of provide that support that we have during the regular school year in our summer school program. So we're going to have more of a push-in support with our special school district staff, working alongside our certified teachers in the district. For our high school Summer Academy, this is where you'll see another shift as well too. So we are going to be using a virtual learning platform while also providing in-person teacher support. There will be one session, the 3-week session and the high school students will meet from 9 to 12:30. The main focus of this program will be focusing on credit recovery, and we are going to use the Launch online platform, which is through the Springfield Public School District. This allows us to really tailor the courses to our students' needs. So students will take a pre-assessment and that will then kind of structure the online program for the specific needs of each of the students in those courses. This will also allow students to complete courses prior to the end of the 3 weeks. So if they just have a little bit more that they need to make up, then they will be able to make that up prior to that. And so that's a lot of incentive for some of our students to be able to complete their courses early or to complete more courses over the summer period. There will be both MRH teachers will be supporting students in person, and through the Launch program, they do have virtual teachers that also can provide support outside of that 9 to 12:30 time. So virtual teachers through the Launch program will be encouraging students to continue with their work even outside of that time. So again, that provides a lot of flexibility for our students to both work during the school time that we provide them and to work outside of the school time. Students this also then gives the opportunity for our high school students to earn up to 1 credit for each course that they complete. The budget for this program looks similar to the budgets in the past. One of the big things that does stand out is the purchase services. And so the purchase services part of this, the $6,750, that would allow us to purchase 45 launch seat license. Those seat licenses would not only be during the summer session, but once we purchase those are good from June until the following May. So we can continue to use these during the school year as well. So the net cost to the district would be around $12,000 for the Summer Academy program. And now we'll move on to the Summer Enrichment Program. As we said, again, the early childhood, elementary, and middle school students will be at the elementary school. And this, again, is the shift for us, trying to work towards some more equity for our students and families. But we're going to be providing these enrichment programs for free for our families. This will allow us to collect the ADA for these students. The main thing that we need to do to make sure these courses can be approved for us to collect ADA is to make sure that the curriculum does align with the curriculum utilized during the traditional school year and be aligned to the Missouri Learning Standards. This still gives us a lot of opportunities to provide some excellent, engaging courses for our students. We just want to make sure those courses are, again, extensions of what we're doing throughout the school year too. We'll have multiple options for course offerings. There will be opportunities for 1 week, 2 week, and 3 week programs. There'll be AM, there'll be PM programs, there'll be all day programs. So again, a lot of different options that we can provide for our families to kind of fit within their schedules. Also, for our enrichment program for our high school students, this will be some credit acquisition opportunities. And this year we'll be offering personal finance and health through our virtual platform with Launch, and then offering PE in person. So the budget for this, once again, this is kind of a projected one, but since we have not collected ADA in this manner during our summer program, we're going to continue to monitor this to see, where we are with our projections as we kind of move forward. But you see that our projections kind of push us forward to have a net cost for our enrichment program of $9,500. The purchase services in this is again we're going to just budget for being able to hire nurses outside. So working with Vince, we are really looking at this opportunity to make sure that we do have a nurse on site for our programs. And we also know that our nurses that are working currently, they have been worked a lot. And so we might have to once again reach outside of our own nurses to provide that support during our summer program. Our next step to kind of move forward with our summer program, obviously getting feedback from you is going to be essential tonight. And then we will continue to share that information out with school staffs. We are currently already working on identifying targeted students for our academies. We will work over the next month to solidify what enrichment courses we'll be offering and getting those descriptions together so that we can put together our summer school brochure and get that out to families prior to spring break. So again, I appreciate just the opportunity to share this information with you, and I'm excited to hear just any questions, comments, or feedback.
Not a question, just a comment. I wanted to thank you for soliciting feedback from all those stakeholders and developing this. I think that's really going to pay off and being able to offer some good enrichment opportunities. So thank you.
I appreciate the suggestion that you had made earlier in the year.
Yes, thank you so much for all the work that you clearly put into this, and our kids continue to benefit from this program. So I appreciate it. Did anyone else have any other questions? Thank you, Dr. Maxwell.
Thank you very much.
Construction change orders. Chris?
Good evening, everyone. So we only have the one change order on the docket for this evening. It's high school, middle school change order 11. It combines a number of changes that have needed to be made to the work over at that project. We've got work on the cooling tower, electrical work, and changes to the stadium light pole base. All very exciting things. Altogether, these will total just under $35,000. And other than that, the nitty-gritty details have been communicated with you prior. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Chris, and thank you for trying to communicate ahead of time so that it's not as much to unpack.
No problem at all.
Construction contract.
Oh yeah, I think Chris wanted me to speak to this one. Early in the project, we had a change to one of the coiling doors. Those expandable doors rolls up and down. We had a total of 3 in the project. When we made a change to one of those doors, the subcontractor who was providing those doors wanted to take that opportunity to significantly increase the price of all 3 doors. We obviously weren't happy with that, so we pulled that piece of the work out of the contract. We did recently solicit new quotes for that work. The original vendor was allowed to provide a quote, which they did, but we're going to recommend going with a company called Zumwalt. They came in at a price of just a little over $29,000. The original vendor wanted over $50,000. So it turned out to be a very wise move on our point to seek another quote on this. One slight change from what was originally put into your board information. We had contemplated doing a direct contract between the district and Zumwalt, but we recently learned that obviously this work needs to be coordinated with all the other work that's going on. So Trico, our general contractor, needs to be involved. They need to help coordinate all that work with the various trades. But also Trico has to take on a bit of responsibility in the very unlikely event. What happens if, say, the opening that's constructed for these doors, what if one of them is off a little bit? And the general contractor would have to take financial responsibility for that. So for that reason, we kind of changed our direction a little bit. And rather than asking you to approve a direct contract with Zumwalt, we will be asking the board to approve a change order to basically have Trico work with Zumwalt through our regular construction contract. The basic information is the same, just a slightly different approach. The total cost doing that as a change order will be $30,833.25. Still cheaper by a long shot from what the original vendor would be. And we'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Randy.
Thank you.
Okay, middle school, high school furniture order, Chris.
Okay, so we're at that point in at least one phase of the middle school, high school renovation project where furniture is ready to be ordered. So there's quite long lead times on this furniture, but in order to have that on site and installed by Color Art prior to the start of the school year, we need to go ahead and get that order going right now. So you'll remember that Color Art won the state contract through Ed Plus for purchasing on particular furniture vendors. So we are using them. We cut the check to Ed Plus. We do not cut the check to Color Art. So the bid is in, or excuse me, the quotation is in front of you. And once approved, we will submit that along with the purchase order to Ed Plus to get this deal going. And I will say that the furniture that the middle school has chosen is quite cool. And I believe that the faculty, staff, and students are going to really enjoy it.
Thank you, Chris. Any questions? Okay, thank you, Chris. Board policy, BCE. Roxana, is that you? You're on mute.
This is a policy change that will adjust the board committee work to remove the requirement for communications forum. And I know that that has been discussed prior.
Okay, thank you. And board policy batch 2021C.
So the policy that is showing here for you is policy KKB. It is a policy that consolidates all of the places we've had in policy around recording, audio recording, and video recording to make it in compliance with some new laws. And so it is not unknown things in our policy. It's just slight changes to put them all in one place to make them easier to deal with.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions about any of that? Okay. Moving on to admin communications, COVID-19 update, Roxana.
All right, let me share my screen. I haven't done this in a while. I'm a little rusty. All right, Dr. Jameson actually put this presentation together and the case rates, I went in today just to check to make sure that to see what was happening. So the good news is that the case rates have dropped considerably from last week. So when we put this together last week, the positivity rate was at 14.5. Today it's hovering around 12%. So we are seeing numbers in the right direction. You can tell from this graphic that while numbers have dropped, this has an 18% positivity. So we're at 12. You may or may not be able to see my cursor, but you're seeing that we're getting near to the yellow, which is about where we were last year at this time. So we want to be hopefully in the blue. The closer we can get in this range, the better. But that's a marked improvement from just about 6 days ago. So we are seeing those rates drop relatively rapidly. The zip code numbers are also different today. So when this was put together, just a few days ago, the latest results that we had were from February 11th. They have been changed. So the 63117 case rate is currently 19, as is the 63143. So we're down again about half in our local new cases in the past 14 days. When we look at our district tracking report, these numbers also look better. So as of this morning, we were at a 0.6% with 3 active staff cases and 9 active student cases. And we do have currently about 18 students in quarantine. When we look at our vaccination tracking reports, you can see that vaccination completion is much higher for students that are 5 and up compared to just the 5 to 17 range. We're still working on completion. We are continuing to work with families to provide access to vaccination. Here's the MRH vaccination tracking report so that you can see that our numbers are actually better than the county numbers currently. And then here are our mitigation measures. I would also just like to give you a brief update that thanks to Vince Estrada, I'd like to give him a shout out. We do have Nomi Health providing free testing to anyone who would need or like to have free testing. They are in the district on Mondays and Wednesdays from 11:30 to 2:30, and they are also at the Heights Monday through Friday. So that is huge for our community, that folks have access to quick and accurate and easy testing, and it's very easy to sign up. Be happy to take any questions that you might have.
Roxana, how do our families sign? Do they need to sign up, or what do they need to do to access the testing?
So you can go to the Nomi Health site. You can just Google Nomi Health, and there is a place on the website where you pick a testing site. So it will list all the places in the city where they are offering testing. MRH is listed as a site, as is the Heights. And you can click on it and just actually make your appointment right then and there.
And for people like me, can you spell Nomi Health?
N-O-M-I.
Okay.
N-O-M-I Health.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
How has our uptake been on that vaccination clinic? I'm sorry, testing clinic. How much participation have we had?
Vince, are you on this call?
I am.
Would you like
How
to
are you guys doing? So a couple things about Nomi. They've been great partners. Probably the biggest benefit is that they're at the Heights with expanded hours, as Roxana said, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Yeah, actually, you won't find the high school on their main website because it's currently just available for staff, students, and families. You know, the good news is you can just walk up and register. I mean, you don't have to pre-register. You don't have to pick a time. The traffic has been light enough where you can just walk in. There's folks that they can register at the table. There's a QR code you can scan. It takes 5 minutes. It's been good. It would have been better to have this about a month ago. I can tell you that for sure. That's when we really needed it. But it's been nice to have them here. They've been very professional. They've scaled back a bit because they brought too many people the first couple of weeks. You know, the test to play has given them the most business with their winter sports athletes. They've been coming faithfully and once a week. That's gone well. We've had some families trickle in. It hasn't been a tremendous amount. We have some staff members utilize it as well. They've had exposure for a variety of reasons. It's been maybe 30 people. And so they're at the high school, middle school theater Mondays and Thursdays from 11:30 to 2:30. And those doors are open and it couldn't be easier. There's a link that our families can use that the nurses can provide them, and that has been Rich sent out for the Monday, Thursday time. So yeah, they've been great to work with, and it's been they're thrilled. The company's thrilled with the Heights site because that's really one of the best sites that they have in the county right now. They were mostly kind of in the city before, now they have a real good location, so it's gone well.
Roxana, can I get an update on plexiglass? I do not want to change our mitigation strategies. Really, I don't, but the plexiglass does not seem as uniform across the district. And so I'm just curious where we're at with that.
Certainly. Well, we have not removed plexi in places other than where the plexi has broken. And we have not ordered more. So we do have some spaces where the plexi is down. Benita actually, and I just talked about that this afternoon with some of the teachers. So we are in contact with the health department, and they are not recommending that we take it down just yet. They have said that they believe that we should hold out until spring break just to make sure there isn't another bump or surge. But if all goes well, we plan on it coming down the 1st of April. If we see the trends continue the way that they are currently trending, obviously we'll monitor closely.
And then you can monitor eBay for plexiglass sales after that.
So everybody do their part for spring break, and then
That's right.
hopefully April 1st, we have a change.
There you go.
Does anybody else have any other questions or? Okay. Thank you. Bus transportation update, Roxana and Chris.
Chris, do you want to field this one?
Sure, be happy to. Well, as we all know from previous communications and probably as parents, the communications to your home with late buses, bus transportation this school year has been extraordinarily challenging, especially over these past 2 weeks. However, we've made a few changes structurally that have greatly improved. And with one exception, over the past 2 weeks, we've only had one late to school bus, and that was on an elementary route. So what we're doing, unfortunately, it is costing us, it is costing the district money to make this happen, but we can't have late buses and kids missing instructional time. So it's one of those trade-offs that's an unfortunate reality. So we have 2 contracted Husky drivers and buses from Husky Transportation. They're actually down south in Festus a bit of ways down there. We have 1 bus that is assisting on one of our routes at the elementary. And then in the afternoon, we have 2 buses that are running our high school and middle school routes. So it's been a refreshing change. Today was a little bit strange just because all the weather and everything. So we may have a few little tardiness here and there, but nothing compared to what we've had in the past due to missing drivers. So we do have a rotation between some of our non-bus driving CDL holders. So sharing that workload in conjunction with the Husky contracted drivers gives us the flexibility for someone to actually take a sick day if they need to, and not sacrifice a bus route as they do it. So while it's been challenging, I feel that at least for the time being, this strategy is working. So we'll continue to monitor carefully. One additional piece, I listen to this radio every afternoon as the buses are running, and there's always the questions going across the radio. When will bus 3 arrive? When will bus 7 hit this stop, Oxford and Piccadilly, just for the entire length of that bus route. Well, we have made the decision as a district to outfit our buses with GPS and a companion app that we can distribute to our parents, or they can go to the app stores and get with a code for our district, and they will be able to watch the bus progress on a map. And we will not eliminate those questions, but we will at least mitigate those questions. So we're looking forward to that. We don't yet have a lead time on that. I would expect probably by April, the end of spring break, we'll probably be able to have that up and running. It is a bit of an expense, right around $10,000 or so to get that set up, but the largest portion of that is the purchase of the devices to put on the buses and the installation thereof. So we're looking forward to it. I'm on the technology side. I tend to geek out over stuff like that, but I do think this is a valuable service that we're able to offer our families, and I'm happy to do it.
Thank you for that. Thank you guys for all of your hard work and continued dedication to trying to make sure that our kids are getting to class on time and not missing instruction. I know it has been very difficult for all districts, but really appreciate the work everyone has put into making this happen. Okay, construction update. Randy?
Yes. If you've been by the high school, middle school, you're starting to see a little bit of work just about everywhere there now. And I'll kind of save that for last. But to kind of tie up a few loose ends, the elementary project, there are just a couple of little items being finished up. I think literally tomorrow. Has to do with the fence, some gates, some hardware, just a few minor items. Once that's finished, we just need the city to come in, do final inspection, and we should be able to close out that contract on the elementary school by the end of the month. I really think we can. The early childhood center, much the same. There's a little bit of fence work that's being done tomorrow, and then on Monday, it's a non-school day, so there are two sets of double exterior doors that are being replaced. Monday's a very good day to do that while there are no students in the building. Once those are in place and that little bit of fencing work is done, we should be able to close out that contract by the end of the month as well. There are no new change orders out there. Everything's been processed. Matter of fact, that 5% retainings that we hold throughout the project, that's all we're still holding. And as soon as we get all the work done, closeout documents and final inspections, we'll be releasing those final payments to Wachter, and we will no longer need to talk about those. The other thing I would add at the Early Childhood Center, if you've been by there, that playground, that newer playground area on the south of the building, I guess would be the southwest corner, they did get the shades installed over the that new tricycle track area and behind that storage shed. So those will come in very handy once it warms up in a few months and the kids are outside there playing. So jumping to the high school, middle school project. If you've been over to the south side of the cafeteria, that south exterior wall is gone. There's a temporary partition, insulated partition in place protecting the cafeteria, but that's gone. It's been excavated way down to the footings, and they're going to start pouring the footings and start on foundation work in about a week on that end. So work in the cafeteria area is really coming along. Down in the basement, one of the big projects that you really can't see going on is all the work that has to happen to change over to the new electrical service. That's kind of been a bottleneck for a lot of our work, but we finally got past some of the challenges. That's moving along well. I would imagine probably a month or so, maybe less, we'll switch over to the new electrical service. And then that really opens the door for all the rest of the work to really hit high speed. So we're really looking forward to that. The locker rooms off of the gym, those are now partitioned off. We've had our last home game in the gym. So they're going to start demolition in those locker rooms, preparing that for renovation. We want to do all the work in there and try to get that done and reopen end of summer, at least very early fall, before the next season where we need those locker rooms. Those are really the basics. I have sent to Chris and Dr. Jameson the weekly update. It has some more changes in there. Some are, not much different than what you've seen. So be sure to take a look at that. But I will say that at this point, our total change orders amount, by the change orders, we've used less than 30% of our available contingency funds, and we've completed a little over 31% of the work. So we're in pretty good shape, and I'm encouraged by that, because at the beginning of the projects, especially when you're digging in the ground, that's where you tend to find the most problems and the most expensive problems. So we still seem to be in pretty good shape, and I could talk forever, but I'm sure Ed's pictures coming up will tell you a lot more than I can say, but would be glad to answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Randy.
Thank you.
Ed, our favorite part, to see the pictures.
Okay, I don't really feel the need to narrate this. It's just going to be a visualization of what Randy just talked about for 1 minute and 46 seconds. So I hope you can see the Proposition E badge floating. Okay. The day that I took this is the device that's breaking up a cistern, but the entire building was shaking. So it was funny to see the students and some teachers moving to the windows because the building literally was shaking up to the middle school on the 4th floor. And here's more pointedly what Randy was talking about. That's the south side. You can see the cafeteria wall gone.
Ed, I think we like the narration.
I thought that was kind of an interesting image. So now we're on the west side. Not everything is southward expansion, as we know. And on this particular day, all that dirt that you saw in the previous sequence was being hauled away. And there's several hundred tons, I'm sure. Mild weather and a professional development day definitely worked in our favor over the last month to get things done. That was evident. And there we go.
As always, thank you so much, Ed, for that.
Thank you.
Did anyone have any questions or comments?
Can I just put in a request that when the ECC and the elementary projects are completely closed out, just to do a spin through those finished spaces? That would be great documentation for us.
Yeah, the entryways are starkly different than they were, less than a year ago. So great idea.
We'll be happy to facilitate that tour for you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to finance. Chris?
All right, I thought I was muted. I had lost my control panel there. Okay, so the items of interest, as I typically say, do a good job of highlighting, hitting the high points here. A couple items in revenue that we are keeping an eye on. Excuse me, was not changing. There we go. Is our current taxes. We're actually trending a bit higher than we have in prior years. So that's exciting. I did look at the delinquent report this afternoon, and the protest report is a little late. It was out about a little before mid-month last year, and we've not seen that yet. So that gives us a pretty good idea of how close we're going to hit our budget targets here. But right now it's looking pretty good. So I'm encouraged by that. And delinquent taxes, as you know, that's just a moving target. We never know. I know how much is out there. I just don't know how much is going to be collected in the current year. So as we go through, other items that I'm watching are the food service program. We are still operating under seamless summer, which means that all of our meals to our students are free, regardless of free and reduced lunch status, and we're reimbursed from the Fed through DESE on that. Also, preschool tuition, we are actually trending pretty well, but not as well as we were in a couple of years prior, like right as at this time. Remember, we had not come into COVID yet in 2020. So you can see back there, we were about 75, 76%. Now we're about 60%. So I'm hopeful that we'll be able to get that target, but we've been refunding families on days due to quarantines if a classroom had to go out. So that is a bit of a financial hit, but also the right thing to do. Rentals are at zero just because we have not been renting out our facilities yet. We've just been sharing them with our community partners. Other than that, everything else is trending pretty well. Everything that I'm watching most closely is in that local area, but you'll see at the bottom line there that we're trending just about where we have in prior years, if not just a percentage point higher. So I'm I'm also encouraged by that. On the expenditure side, let me scroll through here quickly. On the expenditure side, salaries and benefits, they are right on where I would expect them to be. Benefits just a little bit under. There are reasons for that. If you'd like to dig into that at some point over a cup of coffee, we certainly could. Otherwise, purchase services just slightly behind where we were last year. And the same goes with supplies, but we always keep an eye on the salaries and benefits budgets. Those are the ones that incur the most costs to the district and the ones that we have to be the most specific on. Debt service is following right along as it should. Here's our fund balance report. Currently, we are budgeting a 46% fund balance at the end of the year. We are getting a truer look at what our revenue picture is, so we will be coming to you with an amendment shortly. One other thing I should mention on revenue that I'm watching closely is the release of ESSER 3 funds from the state. The legislature has not yet released those funds to the district. That is about $1 million in revenue that we have budgeted, and we have expenses that are ready to go against that $1 million revenue. So we are excited for our state legislature to finally release those funds. So as soon as that happens, we will let you know, because that is a big thing that I am watching very carefully. Any questions?
Just as a reminder, they have until I believe March 24th, somewhere toward the end of March to get that done, or the state would forfeit those funds.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, Chris, budget presentation.
Okay, I'm gonna try this again. See if I can't get it to behave. There we go. Okay, so as you know, the disclaimer on this is it is February. It is very early on the revenue side to be making these projections. However, we have enough information to where we can take a first crack at it. So here we are. The state auditor's office just released the new tax year 2022 calculators with the new CPI, which is the biggest determinant that we look at that affects rates along with AV. So these are the numbers that we're looking at. Of course, we're coming into a non-assessment year, so the only growth that we will be able to recognize is related to new construction improvements and personal property. So those new construction and improvements the target has been moving dramatically over the past, well, since I've been doing this. It's one that I've really had a hard time predicting. Even when I talk to the cities and get an understanding of what's going on around town, the numbers always surprise me. So right now we are ballparking a 4.5 million split between residential and commercial and personal property. So I won't know that number until after you've already approved the budget in July. So that's always exciting. But this is the breakdown for operations, DS, and capital projects. All right, the school district trust fund, or Prop C. You can see there's a bit of an increase here. Of course, that always changes based on the DESI projections. On the weighted ADA per student, you see this. I won't read those numbers to you. There's no increase in the state adequacy target, so a projected increase meager at $17,000. Federal funding will be the biggest factor that you see changed when I show you this schedule here. And looking at the federal revenue line, you'll see that in 2021, we were around $760,000. In 2022, per the ESSER funds just referenced, along with ESSER 2, we are budgeting about $2 million, but there's been no talk of any further release of federal dollars related to COVID, at least that I've heard. So we're back to our typical $750,000-ish range for the budget of 23. And one of the things that we always share with you is we do expect incremental decreases in our federal funding as our free and reduced lunch rates change. So right now we are projecting about a $1.3 million loss in revenue, but again, the lion's share of that is related to those grant monies related to COVID. So that's a little misleading. If you exclude that number, we're looking about a flat revenue picture, but you've worked with me long enough. I would probably likely not share anything other than that with you at this point in the year.
Chris, thank you very much. Just a review for myself. The ESSER money that's showing that huge decrease. When we implemented that money, we also planned for it to end. So that 1.5 million is not that we're losing teachers and staff. There were contracts that we did with that money that
Correct.
had an ending.
Yeah, we had the COVID stipend. We've had certain substitute positions, certain support positions, supplies, purchase services. Of course, a requirement is a certain percentage of that goes directly to learning loss, to address a learning loss. So all of those things are included in that. Some of those services will unfortunately have to stay in place as we still are grappling with learning loss. But we'll talk about that a little bit more as we get to the expense presentations next month and in the month after that.
Hey, Chris. It's that time of year. I think I always ask about if we can get an updated schedule on the TIFs and when they're going. I don't think we have anything anticipated to roll off, but
No,
just so we can get the landscape of what's going on there.
I'll be sure I include that on the next one.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Does anyone else have any other questions or comments? Okay, moving on to board communications and discussion, calendar of events. So Monday is no school. If you're like me, you might have forgotten that to the last minute. February 22nd is Bus Driver Appreciation Day. Please say thank you to our bus drivers who have really gone above and beyond and done so much for these kids. February 23rd is Education Plus candidate training. It is virtual. February 26th is the Mid-County Chamber Trivia Night, which was rescheduled from January 15th. Our tentative Black History Month dinner is going to be the 24th. Black Film Festival will be the 25th. We've got a work session on March 3rd. The SSD Governing Council is March 7th. The Legislative Advocacy Committee is March 11th. And then CBTF will be the 16th. And our next meeting is the 17th. Have I missed anything, or is there anything anyone else wanted to add to the calendar? Okay, don't forget, April 5th is Election Day. Okay, moving on to Communications Forum update. So I thought the communication forum went pretty well, but we've got so many committees that already do the same work. And we've talked about what we're going to do moving forward to be more efficient. And I believe that is on the action items tonight, voting. So we will not be having communications forum going forward, but we do have other things in place that tend to get the job done even better. So does anybody have anything else they wanted to add or questions? Okay. Board committee report, CBTF.
Rachel and I were fighting over who got to report on this one. So I'll take a stab and she can let me know if I've forgotten anything. The key item that was discussed at CBTF was a recommendation to begin paying our CAT team leaders. So that's an exciting development. I think both of board members present were surprised to learn that they do not get compensated for their CAT team leadership. So that was a good discussion. The remainder of the meeting was mostly taken up with a lot of the topics that came up in communications forum. So particularly around how early release days will be used for curriculum development or for professional development, more discussion about how leap days are defined, discussions about permanent subs. What am I missing? Some minor changes in our teacher recognition awards and rates for summer school curriculum writing. Rachel, did I get it all?
Roxana, can you remind me too what I think that we put a lot of expectation on the CBTF reps within the staff to make sure they're reporting back. And I know, I mean, I think that is some of the, just the root of some of the questions that, you know, have surfaced there or in communications forum. Can you just remind me what the mechanism, I'm glad we get reports, what the report back mechanisms are for CBTF?
So they do go to the reps who do distribute them. We create PDFs of all of the minutes, which are distributed back to the buildings through CBTF. We also typically share them with teacher leader groups. And then one of the things that we had on the old website that we are now moving to the new website is a home for some of those higher level teacher committees where, you know, those PDF documents can just be housed so folks could go look them up themselves. So multiple ways for folks to get information if they're interested in what happens in those meetings.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Okay, board committee report for the Wellness Committee.
Well, Ralph was there, but I know he's not here tonight. And I forgot to invite Amber Withicum, so I'm making a public apology on YouTube to Amber, who was a new member. I can give a quick report if you wanted to hear it though, because we did have a Wellness Committee.
You can give a quick report.
Sure. So we met on January 31st. It had been a while. We had a bit of brief hiatus, but it was great to see everyone again. A big part of what, you know, the big role of the Wellness Committee is sort of advisors to the board on wellness policies and practices and studying, et cetera. Not a decision-making body per se, but one that really kind of studies and looks at wellness. We always have updates from all the different departments. So we did a health update, which was quite extensive because of COVID. We talked about the Omicron trends, our initiative to get vaccination card information from students, the distribution of KN95 masks to staff, which was very welcome. The changes in the district dashboard, we were doing daily updates through the surge. That will end since it's slowed quite a bit. And thank you, Katie, for your nudge on that. So we will stop making daily updates and go back to our Monday, Thursday updates starting next week. So we talked about that. We talked about our pivot from to the CDC guidance, our delay in doing that for 2 weeks coming out of winter break, which was a wise decision. We kind of covered that, the rationale for all that. Talked about the testing access through Novi. Talked about our nursing staff plans for the rest of the year. We have a nurse going out on leave in the spring, and so we'll have Maxim kind of filling in that spot. And then the food service talked about that the fact, you know, the reminders that the students all have waivers for free breakfast and lunch. It has had a bit of a negative impact on our applications. So we're going to kind of ramp up and try to get some of that information back in. We're going to restart those efforts. We have an opportunity to perhaps update those numbers, which was good news from DESE, because I think we probably should be in the mid to upper 30s, not in the low 30s. And that will have a significant impact on our federal funds. Got updates from Seed to Table. There's new chickens at the elementary school. I can talk to you more about that, but I'll let you guys read the minutes. And the PE interestingly talked about their baseline testing and had noted that their baseline testing for fitness for kids in the fall was lower than it's ever been, which is interesting probably because of the pandemic and quite a bit less activity. Our next meeting is in April, and we got an update from WOW, and we also have an employee wellness grant that we're going to try to do some wellness activities with our staff, and that's the Wellness Committee report.
Thank you so much, Vince.
No problem.
Fundraising Committee report.
Fundraising Committee has been making slow and steady progress toward a campaign launch for the Nelson Mitten Scholarship with enormous support from Ed Rich. We are scheduled for a March launch of both a paper mailing and social media and email aspects of that campaign. And that'll be running through the end of April. And we have a defined deadline date to create urgency. So it's the last day of April that we want to raise all of our donations by. So more information to come once all of that is buttoned up, including, as I promised, a solicitation list that all board members will be asked to contribute to and comment on. And I'll turn it over to Maria for any updates on the scholarship itself.
Thank you, Amber. I did get a response back from our guidance counselor surround the application, and they felt that it is not too robust at all, actually. However, they did make a recommendation that if we wanted to scale back, we could, instead of having the applicants provide a narrative on the 4 cornerstones, that we would allow them to just maybe choose 2 of those rather than the 4. I think my recommendation would be, let's move forward as stands for this 1 year. And then next year, to maybe take a little deeper dive and get a little bit more insight from the counselors and Bonita at that point. And then we could, maybe scale it back at that point.
Well, thank you, Maria. Thank you, Amber, for all the work that you're putting into that. Okay, Joe's Place, I'll give the report since Ralph isn't here. There have been a few changes at Joe's Place. They had their annual board meeting and the president, Julia, stepped down. Kirsten Covert also stepped down. And so now Facundo is now the president and Stacy is the vice president. And Howard continues to serve as their treasurer. We have a new case manager, Matthew, who is an MRH parent and volunteer. So that's awesome. And the Joe's Place needs to continue to raise funds. They've been working on this. It's obviously been impacted by COVID. The family does need meals. They've asked that no one drop them off at the house for, of course, COVID protocols and privacy issues. But weekly meals are able to be provided through Time for Dinner or Maple Good. So they ask that you contact those organizations to donate meals. They've got some fundraisers coming up in 2022. And so just stay tuned. Any questions or comments? Okay. Okay, moving on to SSD Governing Council.
We have not had a meeting. Our next meeting is in March.
Thank you for that report, Rachel. Let's amend the agenda and skip over 608. Anybody want to do that? No?
I'm going to have to vote against that. But I appreciate everyone. I just wanted to just say publicly that it is, definitely with a bittersweet moment to step down. And I appreciate everyone stepping up and to allow me, as I state in the letter, to spend some more time with my parents and family as they go through kind of the next stage of dealing with some health issues and aging in place and needing me to be more present. So thank you all for that. In addition to the letter that's there, I've been doing a little bit of writing here and there. I've got about a bunch of different letters individually and personally for those on the call that I'd love to share. I was going to bring it tonight, but obviously the weather intervened. You may see something in your mailbox over the weekend. I cannot express in words how much you guys mean to me and how hard you guys work for this district. I see Cindy on the call as well. I want to express a ton of appreciation for her leadership and her guidance. Unfortunately, we've needed a lot of it lately. But in the last 10 and a half years that I've been on the board, it's been amazingly hard work, but it's been rewarding work. I want to thank the community for the trust they've had in me to allow me to continue to represent them. I am totally honored and proud to represent this community and this district. I'm going to miss all of you, seeing you guys all more regularly. Thank you for your fellowship and thank you for the work that you do. I'm confident you'll continue to do it with the amazing dedication that you've shown all the years that I've been on the board. So thanks so much, guys. I'm sorry to be stepping away at this critical time, but I appreciate you all. Thank you.
You are just going to be missed tremendously. You are an amazing person, but you've also contributed so much to the board. I know that you've had a hand in getting a lot of us here. So I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. And it's been an honor to serve with you. And you're not off the hook. So I intend to see your face at a lot of events moving forward. Especially when we get to do stuff in person, like cook for some of the events and stuff. You've got to come on down, okay?
Absolutely. I will continue to bleed Blue Devil blue every day. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Does anybody else have anything they would like to say or add?
Well, I could talk for hours. But I'm going to keep it very brief. Thanks for taking my call 11 years ago and hanging with us. We are better for you. And I think you said it best. You will always be a Blue Devil. You can run and you can hide, but we will find you. But I think a special thanks to Beth and the kids and the family as well, because we know that as we sit here, there's always people behind us that push us forward and have our back. So thanks to the Schemler family, and we love you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
I'd just
really
like to briefly say thank you on behalf of the staff. Our staff, and I should say this to all of you, but our staff revere our board. They feel so incredibly fortunate that they have a group of people that always support them. And Francis, you've always been at the top of that list. So thank you for what you've done for our teachers and for our students.
Absolutely. Well deserved for all of the work that you guys do.
Is there anyone else?
Thanks, Francis. I think there's an exit fee that goes to the Nelson Minton Scholarship Fund, though. So we'll be hearing from the committee on that, man.
Just bill me. Yeah. Checks in the mail.
I think there's a Venmo option.
Don't worry, it's coming.
We've got a Square.
Yeah, we got it right.
I think my wallet's downstairs. I'll go grab it.
Okay, before we move on to action items, I did want to correct something that I said in the Joe's Place report. Everyone who wants to help out with meals, please contact Joe's Place by going to joesplacestl@gmail.com. Thank you. Okay, moving on to action items, construction change orders. Oh, and Francis, did you say that you wanted to make motions on all of the action items tonight?
I suppose I should. I need to pick up a little slack, I guess, since I'm leaving. So I will move to approve the construction change orders as presented.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion carries.
This is the one, Brandy, we need to modify the motion. I can feed that to you if you like.
Could you please?
Move to approve a change order with Trico in the amount of $30,833.25 for coiling doors.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion carries. Middle school, high school furniture order.
Move to approve furniture order number 1 for the middle school, high school as presented.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion carries. Okay, mitigation measures. Before we vote on that one, can I ask one quick question? Roxana, can you explain very briefly test to stay? Test to stay
is not as necessary as it once was with the change to the 5-day quarantine. So the idea was that if we had someone who needed potentially to quarantine, we could have them test and then test again. I don't remember exactly how many days that was in a row, how many tests they needed to take, but they were allowed to stay if they were asymptomatic as long as they had negative tests. And Vince, you may want to chime in, but
it was an initial idea that was connected to the 10 and 14-day quarantines that were longer. But since we've adopted the new 5-day quarantine, it's not really necessary because they're coming out in 5 days and they're testing pretty regularly. So I don't know if it needs to remain as a mitigating measure, but the spirit of it was to provide more testing to our families, and we have accomplished that for sure. So, but as a strategy, it's sort of a moot point because we've adopted the new guidelines, which has reduced the number of days in quarantine as few as 5. So.
At its spirit, Brandy, it is if a student is symptomatic, we can provide rapid testing so that they can get their results quickly and remain in school.
Yeah, it does allow us to implement that algorithm that we're still following. So yes.
Okay, great. Okay, can I get a motion, please?
Move to reapprove the MRH universal mitigation measures as presented.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Juneteenth holiday.
I move to approve the recognition of June 19th, Juneteenth, as an official holiday and as the national day to commemorate the end of slavery in the United States, and adopt the 2021-2022 school year calendar as amended to reflect this recognition.
I'm going to second that one. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Board Policy Batch 2020A, Part 2.
I move to adopt policies JFG and JFGA as modified.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Board Policy Batch 2020A, Part 2, GB, CBA, and JG.
I move to adopt policies GB, CBA, and JG as presented by MSBA in the 2020A policy batch.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Board Policy Batch 2021C.
I move to adopt policies BBB, DCB, JHDE as presented by MSBA in the 2021C policy batch.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay.
I'm
Motion
not doing this next one.
Right. Yeah. As a person on the electoral slate with you, I'll kick it off. Since it has also been my honor to work alongside of you for my entire time on the board, move to reluctantly accept the resignation of Frances Chemelier as presented.
I got the second on this one.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Okay.
Keep it down. Motion carries. Executive session.
Do you want me to do this? Do you want me to do the newbie stuff too?
Final time. Let's do it.
I haven't done this in a while. I can't remember what year it was that I was the newbie. I moved to enter executive session in accordance with section 610.021, subsections 1, 3, 9, and 13, and section 610.022 of the revised statutes of Missouri on February 17th, 2022 for the following specific reasons: personnel matters and legal matters.
Can I get a second?
Second.
We need a roll call, actually.
Correct.
I'll get it eventually.
Okay, I'm going to read your names as I see you on my Zoom screen, all right? So Ms. Kaufman,
Yes.
Ms. Goltzman,
Yes.
Ms. Withicombe,
Yes.
Mr. Chemelier,
Yes.
Ms. Langston,
Yes.
Ms. Herndon Miller.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. See everyone in a few minutes.
Do not log off.
Okay, we're staying on this.
I am ending the YouTube stream.